Hey, Michael with XForcePC. I want to talk to you about securely deleting files off your hard drive. Now, what we're going to talk about first is the conventional hard drive with a spinning platter. In other words, it has moving parts and a head that moves back and forth. And this is the type of hard drive that's been around for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, since hard drives were invented. And of course, most recently, we have solid state drives, but those are still in their infancy. We'll set that down. So we'll talk about the conventional hard drive, because odds are you're not getting rid of a computer that has an SSD in it right now. So on a conventional computer, data is stored in zeros and ones on the hard drive. Okay? And when you delete a file, you might think what happens is, oh, the file, it just gets erased. It's gone now. There you go. It's gone. Nothing to worry about. But actually, that's not what happens. So I put our file back up here. And what actually happens is when you say, computer, delete that file, the computer doesn't waste its time overwriting that data with zeros. All it does is it just says, hey, this part of the hard drive is now available. So if you need to write something to the hard drive, this is free space. Okay? But the data is still actually sitting there. It's just marked as free space, and you won't see it when you look in your Windows Explorer. But you can use special software to actually go through and look for these types of files that have been flagged as deleted, but aren't actually deleted. So that's how files are deleted off of a conventional hard drive. And this data, if you're very concerned about it, won't actually be truly gone until something comes along and, writes over the top of it with another file. Then that data will truly be unrecoverable once it's been overwritten by something else. So what you can do to mitigate your risk when you, let's say you're going to sell your computer on eBay or whatever, so you have your files out here, or this just represents one file. But you'd be concerned about the entire hard drive. What you would do is you'd run a special piece of software, and most of the hard drive manufacturers have this software. They provide it for free. There's also some free tools out there. And all it does is it goes through here and it makes everything zeros. It just overwrites it all. Everything's now a zero. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And you can actually tell it to overwrite it multiple times, but really that's not necessary. That's more of like a Department of Defense type erase. So that's a conventional hard drive. The only true way to know your data is gone is to overwrite it with something else. And again, there are utilities and programs that have the ability to overwrite the stuff. Also, you could bring it to us and we can do it for you for a nominal fee. Now, another way to erase a mechanical hard drive, and the way I like to do it, if I'm never going to reuse the drive and it's just going to e-waste, is I'll just take a drill and just drill right through the cover and right through these platters and put a nice hole all the way through the cover and the platters. Nobody's recovering that. Now, yeah, if you're the Department of Defense, maybe you take it another step further and you actually grind this thing up into little tiny bits, which is eventually going to happen when it gets to the recycler. But for the home user, just drill through it. Be careful, don't get shavings of metal in your eye and things like that. Now, the other type of drive we need to talk about is a solid state drive. And that's coming in pretty much every Mac now and on high-end Windows machines. And it'll say solid state or SSD if you do have a solid state drive. And so there's no moving parts. It's all just chips. It's flash memory that doesn't go away when you turn the power off. Now, the way SSDs work is a lot different than hard drives. So let's say you have a file out here, and you want to securely erase that. Well, the problem is, first of all, on a conventional hard drive, you would just overwrite that with zeros, using the special software I talked about earlier. But SSDs don't work that way. They do something called wear leveling. SSDs are made up of tiny little cells, and those cells can only flip back and forth so many times from a 0 and a 1. There's a finite amount of times that can happen. And it's a lot. But what SSDs do to avoid you using that same bit over and over and over and wearing out one bit is it levels that wear out across the whole SSD. So even if you say overwrite this file with zeros, it may not actually do that. It may actually just flag this as, okay, this is free space, and actually rewrite the file or rewrite the zeros somewhere else. And you've still got your data sitting there because of this wear leveling. So if you need to securely erase a SSD, many manufacturers will give you a tool that will allow you to securely erase an SSD, and it's smart enough to know, okay, this guy wants to erase this SSD, so I'm going to go through here, screw the wear leveling, we're going to go through here, and we're going to hit every cell and write a 0 to it. And that only happens using this special software that's for SSDs, and we use a lot of Samsung SSDs, and Samsung SSDs comes with the Samsung Magician software, and one of the and I believe it's built into that, or either it's a separate utility, but regardless, Samsung gives you a tool to securely overwrite your SSD, if it's a Samsung. I can only assume that other manufacturers provide a similar tool, and there's probably also third-party tools that will do it. But just know that with SSDs, it gets a little more complicated. You have to make sure you use a tool that's specifically designed for an SSD because of this wear leveling that occurs on SSDs. I hope that helps, and if you need us to erase your hard drive, bring it to us and we'll be happy to do it.